or so ago, CJ Hicks committed to Ohio State. He's 6'4", 215-pound athlete out of Kettering Alter, which has sent a number of guys into college football. But he's, like I said, 6'4", 215, 24/7's number 15 athlete, number 162 player overall. Plays kind of everywhere on the field as a young guy. He plays some corner, plays some safety and linebacker, and does some running back stuff. And, just one of those guys you play wherever you can and get him involved. One of those really good athletes that can do a number of different things. As to what he's going to be in college, I mean, if he's already 6'3" or 6'4", and 205, 215, somewhere in that range, I think Rivals lists him as a safety. I don't see him staying at safety when he's already this big. But I think maybe the number 3 guy in Ohio in the 2022 class. So the Buckeyes are doing well in Ohio. He's their 3rd commit in that class. 2 of them from Ohio, 1 from Louisiana, Jair Brown, the cornerback out of Louisiana that they got. So right now, the fence is going up around Ohio in 2022. CJ Hicks is the 2nd Ohioan. Tegra Shibola was the 1st. There's going to be more coming because that's the way it is. And when they offer Ohio guys this quickly, this early, they do it because they want them. And so take that for an indication of how good they think CJ Hicks is, that he already has this offer, because they know when they offer these guys this early, there's a good chance they're going to take them. So they don't give Ohio kids offers this early unless they're willing to accept their commitments.
Yeah, very early. This is a year and a half until these guys that are in 2022, current high school sophomores, can sign a letter of intent in December of 2021. So very impressive. Hicks has got 27 scholarship offers as I look at it. Penn State, Notre Dame, Iowa, Michigan, Miami, Florida, a number of others. Kettering Alter, there have been a few guys come out of there before. I believe Jerry Rodzinski over 20-some years ago was from there, and I'm sure Kettering Alter has sent some other guys places as well. Jair Brown from New Orleans, cornerback, and Tegra Tushbola from Lakota West, I believe is what we discovered a week ago, offensive lineman. That's 2 guys from the Miami Valley there with Tushbola and now Hicks. And it also kind of redoubles the idea that Ryan Day is going to take the best guys in Ohio that he can get his hands on in the latter years of the Urban Meyer regime. They kind of just took cherry-picked the top 3 or 4 guys in Ohio, and then took guys as they needed them and didn't worry so much about the state of Ohio. Looks to me like Ohio is going to be a little bit more of an emphasis, I think, for Ryan Day, and that's a good thing. Ohio State's best championship teams have had a lot of Ohio guys on there, and so I think you need a blend, a healthy mix of top national guys to go with the guys from Ohio that can be the backbone and those kind of things. So I'm excited to see what Hicks can bring to the table. And as Tony was saying, he can go across the board and play in a lot of different places for the Buckeyes down the line. So an interesting, intriguing prospect that they're adding. And again, this recruiting push by Ohio State continues unabated, and they just keep adding more and more guys, and there's no end in sight.
Well, and then the 2021 class is already 2/3 full, so they are able to get way ahead on the 2022 guys. And with all the coaches just sitting at home, they're able to watch a lot more film and do a lot more evaluation of film. So they're just going to get further ahead, I think. But then you got to be careful that you don't get too far ahead, and now you've got too many sophomores as part of your class, when you don't even know really what they're going to become as juniors and seniors. And then that also leaves you less room to take juniors and seniors as they progress. So, we'll see how many more they add in 2022, just in this spring and summer. There's certainly some they like, but I think you got to be careful that you don't get too far ahead. I think that was one of Mac Brown's biggest problems at Texas, when they would have so many guys committed so early. And then my theory is that it always just kind of led to a feeling of they had made it. That there was didn't necessarily that they were that they were owed this, and kind of didn't really have the work ethic that most classes needed. But that's just one of my pet theories about Mac Brown and the Texas downfall, is that they just had too many early commitments of guys who then didn't feel like they had to earn their stay, and that's why they became soft. But that's a topic for another day. I don't see that happening at Ohio State.
Well, when we launch our Texas Longhorns live series, we'll keep you in mind, Tony, as a guest.
It'd be a very popular theory on my part to start that show. Yes,
we'll
that'd be a good idea.
With that, get it launched, with getting the fan base worked up. That will be the way to get that started. Ryan Day certainly seems to be following the Urban Meyer blueprint of locking down these classes early, because if you follow recruiting, and I'm not a big recruiting guy, but I certainly need to follow it and know what's going on in terms of the masses. There's a lot of drama across the country those final few days, final few minutes on signing day. And Ohio State seems to be, boom, we've got our guys. We're locked in. This is what we've got. Don't expect us to go grab another 4-star on the final day. So it might be a little boring, not a whole lot of drama around here. But, man, you go through the other elite programs, and there's always 2 or 3 guys dangling out there. We may get them. Wow, we got a big win here. Oh, we lost this guy. There's a lot of drama, where Ryan Day, based on what we see here in 2021 and even in the 2020 class, it seems to be pretty well like a week to 2 weeks in advance. Oh, we know what we've got.
Well, I think it helps not swimming in the SEC waters where coaches move and change over there, and recruits do the same thing. I think maybe Ohio State's recruiting pitch is just a little bit different, and they always talk about finding the right kinds of players, but there is still drama at the end. You go back to 2018 when they lost out on Jackson Carman, and then between the early signing period and the late signing period, they went and got Nicholas Petit-Frere, who was the number one offensive tackle in the nation, if I'm not mistaken, in that whole scenario there. Unless Carmen was in 2019, but anyway, he's able to make up and go get somebody late. But you're right, there's not a lot of, waiting till signing day. There is some, but you have a pretty good idea of who is going to sign. Even when Ezekiel Elliott in 2013, he had committed to Ohio State, and then he kind of backed off, and then was still committed, but may end up signing with somebody else. And on signing day, he stuck with Ohio State, and that was after the signing day press conference that day. And Urban Meyer was like, "Yeah, we feel pretty good that we'll be adding another running back." And so, there was some drama there, but they knew by, I think, that morning that Ezekiel Elliott would stay a Buckeye. But yeah, I couldn't imagine covering some of these SEC teams where, things just almost out of the blue, where, some 5-star kid comes in and you're like, who even knew? Maybe that's more exciting. I don't know. I think there's enough excitement around Ohio State with the recruiting that you don't need the blindside stuff coming out of nowhere. And then the accusations that may come from it. But I think Ohio State recruiting is dramatic enough. Steve, maybe you want more drama. I don't necessarily need some of the signing day stuff going on.
No, I understand. With kids, these are difficult decisions, I think, for some of them, particularly the out-of-state guy. I think the guys in Ohio may be predisposed to go to Ohio State, but Ohio State hasn't gotten every guy from Ohio that they offer. I mean, there have been guys who have leaked out and gone other places and done big things over the years, and that's just the way it's going to work. But, again, they're recruiting at such a high level that if they lost one guy in particular, I'm not going to get too upset about it. I think in recent years, until they got the outstanding recruits for running back recruits for the 2021 class, I guess, a lot of people wondered about Tony Alford and recruiting running backs, but at the same time, they had a pretty good fleet of running backs on campus already anyway. Are any of them Ezekiel Elliott? I don't know, but at the same point, I can only get so upset about things, and then you just have to go on with your life. Basically, is kind of my feeling, and you know, they have good enough players to win the Big Ten and contend for a national championship. And maybe if everything kind of goes their way, like it did in 2014, they'll sneak in there and win one of them here in the next 2 or 3 years. And that remains to be seen. But again, it's all about the material you put into the blender is the result you're going to get out of it. And Ohio State's putting great material in, regardless of, okay, maybe they lose a guy here or there, but it shouldn't be enough to stop what's been kind of a runaway freight train here for the last 5 or 6 years to just keep going, barreling on down the tracks.
Yeah, and as Steve said, it's not just one guy that's going to make or break a class, especially when we've seen 5-star guys come to Ohio State and do nothing. You know, like Dorian Bell, Corey Brown, just a couple of guys out of Pennsylvania, 5-star guys, didn't do anything at Ohio State. You know, go back to 20 years ago, Jefferson Kelly, #1 offensive tackle in the nation, had some injuries, and he didn't. Turns out he wasn't Orlando Pace Part 2. You know, who could have foreseen that? But we've seen guys come and go as 5-star guys who just really never live up to it, or, you know, take longer. And then you've seen plenty of 3-star guys be Darren Lee, and in his second year is crazy good, looking like a 5-star, and one of those guys who is annoyed about the whole star status. And so you've got those guys who put that chip on their shoulder and carry that forward. And then you've got the 5-star guys who come in who have to kind of burn that chip off because other players may look at them and a little bit of spite, a little bit of, you know, they're going to be ribbed about it. Although with so many 5-star guys at Ohio State, they may outnumber the 4-star guys now. I don't know. You know, it's pretty ridiculous over there. But you know, no one guy, but there are some guys who can really set the tone for the program. Like Terrell Pryor took Ohio State to 3 BCS bowls as a starting quarterback. You know, true freshman, true sophomore, true junior. Now they don't have him. You know, if they didn't get him, and Michigan does, you know, what happens in that scenario? Maybe Ohio State goes and gets Taj Boyd in like 2009 and they're okay. But, you know, there's some interesting scenarios if you take one guy off of a roster or one 5-star guy off of a roster and put him somewhere else where those guys that did have big impacts, what if they weren't there?